Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, this is a terrible hand. But it is playable. So this guy can help me summon my starter. This guy is really here just for the vibes, honestly. This guy literally does nothing. And this guy is someone you really don't want to see in your opening hand. And this spell is another starter. Okay, so I virtually have 2 starters, correct? Well, not really. See, this guy requires to be normal summon in order to get my starter, which is very risky in this deck that usually relies on a normal summon. Even so, I must discard a spell for cost in order to do this. So really, I only have 1 starter. The question is, which starter do I use? Well, if I use Summoner Monk, I can get Ashed, Imperm, or Veiler, stopping me from making any more plays and going -1 in the process. Or I can activate Stand Up, dodging all those hand traps, but could still lose to Ghost Ogre, ending my turn anyway, while going -1. In other words, there is always a chance that my opponent can just end my turn if they have the out. So the obvious answer here is to activate Stand Up and avoid 3 of the 4 disruptions that my opponent could possibly have, right? Well, after summoning Thrasher, my dumbass decided to summon Monk instead. Luckily, my opponent didn't have any of those hand traps, so in this particular case, it did not matter. Anyways, I special summoned my starter to start my plays and, in this case, to search Stand Up. To further my previous point home, had I activated Stand Up first, I would have sent Monk to the graveyard since I would have no spell card to discard in order to activate its effect. Summon Thrasher, then summon Primera, get negated, and I would still have plays from this position as I could use both of these guys to Synchro summon a level A Synchro, or, if I was particularly desperate, send Stand Up to the graveyard to summon Gargoyle so that I could end on a decent board. Anyways, I activated Stand Up, sent Emmett to the graveyard to set Gargoyle. Now, some people might call this a suboptimal play, as I could have set Trudea instead, as this line would give me Trudea in the back row while still allowing me to summon Gargoyle. But, had I done that, in this instance, I could lose to Nibiru. Thrasher, Primera, Trudea, Gargoyle, Oxilla. 5 special summon spells the rock, potentially losing me the game. So if I want to play around Nib, I really only got 2 options from here. Set Trudea, summon Gargoyle, pass, or set Trudea, summon Gargoyle, and Synchro summon into Shagma! Both have their caveats. The first option would mean that I would have to let my opponent activate a card in order to respond before I can Synchro summon thanks to Stand Up. This doesn't sound too bad until one realizes that board breakers exist. 1 Raigeki and I am cooked. Since if they activate a board breaker, I can only summon Trudea and then boom, they're all gone. I am quite literally not fast enough. And even if I was fast enough, or if my opponent allowed me to Synchro summon for some reason, what do I Synchro summon into? Oxilla? Legacia? The only viable option here is to summon Sigma as he is unaffected and basically nothing else. Either no one does anything, or Blazer can't be summoned. If you really think about it, both lines lead to the same destination. Either you are asking your opponent to blow you out of the water to then summon Sigma and pray, or immediately summon Sigma and pray. Either way, not very good options. Alternatively, one could just not care and play normally anyway and set up a Centuria end board anyways. This is a risk, but technically an option. Or set Gargoyle, set up an end board, and play around Nibiru entirely like I did here. So I'd argue that this play was more optimal, but I can assure you, my little fish brain was not thinking about this at all. I already have a Gargoyle in hand. I may as well set another Gargoyle so that I am less likely to draw into another one. Needless to say, I am not very smart. So I special summon Gargoyle and then Synchro summon Oxilla. Oxilla Chainlink 1, Gargoyle Chainlink 2. On resolution, I add back Gargoyle to hand, then add Phalanx. Phalanx is a monster removal via banishment, so pretty good. End phase, set Primera, pass. So, now that it's my opponent's turn, Let's see what they're cooking. This guy doesn't destroy, this guy bounces, my guys. It's so over. It was in fact not so over. I could have used Phalanx here to banish him, but chose not to because at the time, for some reason, I thought that Alpha's effect was an on-summon effect or a quick effect, rendering Phalanx pointless. That was definitely an oopsie on my part, and I should have known better. Well, there goes my Auxilla. Huh? It's not once per turn! Nah! 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 I was so pissed that he could summon that blasted thing again. And I was not about to let that thing stay and find out if that bounce effect was a soft once per turn or not. So I lost some much needed protection, and the situation became immediately dire. He then activated Cash Tier of Birth for some reason. TLDR, this isn't relevant. What is relevant is the Thunderbird!
Let's go gambling! Aw, dang it.
Well, that's just great. He summoned Big Bird, drew a card, and then searched Bigfoot. Well, this is the end. Either he wins the gamble and summons Bigfoot, or he loses the gamble and forces my Primera out to then tribute Pank to finish the job. It was nice knowing you all. No. You're not going to chain Pank?
Huh?
Oh, whatever. He'll just chain Pank to my Primera or stand up anyway. That duel is practically over.
Are you really going to give up?
Nani?
Did you forget the Knight's Oath? We did not come here just to lay down. Do not forget what we are fighting for. For our friends, and all the bonds that we have forged along the way. This is what we fight for. This duel is not over.
It's targets! I know what to do. MF! I summon you! It's not about winning, because quite honestly, this doesn't change much of my current predicament. It's about sending a message that although my opponent may break my body, he will never break my spirit. I will stand with my team and stare death down in the face, even if it's the last thing I do.
Let's go gambling! Aw, dang it.
Bruh, 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 bruh.
So I suppose he could have withhold Cash Tier of Birth so that he could increase his odds of not discarding his danger monsters. Wait a minute. This festival does not include Exceeds monsters. What the f? Wait, this is a Link deck. Let's see here. We know that his hand consisted of Alpha, Cash Birth, Pank, Thunderbird, Nessie, and a mysterious card. that
never gonna be seen or used.
he then added Bigfoot and presumably drew into another Thunderbird. Assuming the last card was literally unplayable, because if it wasn't, he should have summoned another monster, any monster really, to then link them off into SP Little Knight to do at least something. That being said, the likely card to be in my opponent's hand could have been Psyframe Driver, the third copy of Thunderbird, Ogopogo, Iris, Sword Soul, Nibiru, funnily enough, Lord of the Swords, Pot of Avarice, the second copy of Cash Birth, 12 potential cards out of the 53 cards in deck. How unfortunate. Anyways, that is all.